La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. 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 Ahmadiyyat zindabad, 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 Ahmadiyyat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Amin side, and then Sadar side, and the other dignitaries on the high table. Well, Allah has decreed that this program will hold them like this because although I have the lecture prepared, but the presentation was actually designed to be sort of interactive, not a didactic lecture. And then I've also tried to adjust to the present arrangements, and people who are watching us online will be following my screen. So I've done a brief of what I will be presenting, and then I will be just talk around them without necessarily reading in details. We have the details in our booklets. So I hope that we can have the screen being projected. But let me just start by saying that I actually decided when I was actually contacted to choose a topic to speak on, I decided not to at least focus on a particular health condition. Because the reality is that people are faced, whatever health condition that people are faced with, a time comes in which there will be all sorts of challenges. There will be threats to one faith, there will be threats to one finances, there will be threats to family unity, and then these are things that we face daily in the hospital. And how do we cope with this? And that's what I just thought, that perhaps I should just bring it up, that we just look at, we share experiences, and we look at challenges that people face, challenge that families they face when they are actually confronted with serious health challenges. Because most of the time when this happens, we may not really understand the background, and I'm happy that the last speaker made mention of being permitted to seek issues of health challenges in Islamic ways. But the thing is that most of the time, it is not every time that people will be in control. A time may come in which people will have to take decision for you. So at that point in time, people looking at you from outside say, that brother, what has happened to that brother? But that's just the reality of life. So, and I just thought that I need to bring up some of those issues that people will may be faced with. Yes, why we pray that none of us should be afflicted with terminal illness or any disease condition, but the truth of the matter is that these are realities of life. It can happen to anybody, and it can happen to anybody in our family. So we need to be empowered to be able to understand what we need to do. So I will be talking on the care of terminally ill and a dying person. So next slide, please. So I've tried to, highlight some objectives that we should be able to achieve at the end of this lecture, and that is that we must be able to understand. Next slide, please. What we mean by the terminal illness, then some common causes in brief, then how do we cope with diagnosis? Because it is a challenge to be told that you have a serious health challenge. How do you cope with it? Then what are the effects on this illness on the person and on the family? Then what are the management approaches to management, and then so that we can actually contextualize it in the on the principle of Islamic teaching. Then highlight some important decisions that need to be considered. Those who are afflicted, they need to take some decisions, and then even some of those decisions also may actually be useful even to and other people. Then we will look at the prominent end of life signs. And what are those things that when we see, we know that the end is actually approaching? Then we look at what do we mean by a good death? Yes, death is death, but that is what we consider as a good death. Then how to avoid the caregiver burnt out, and we conclude. So may Allah make it easy for us to quickly achieve this. So, next slide, please. I said, the title was a terminal illness. So it means that there are other categories of illnesses. We have acute illnesses, and this develops suddenly. It lasts within a short period of time, within days or weeks. Then we also have chronic illnesses. This develops slowly and persists over an extended period of time, which may range from months to years. So you see that the underlying difference between acute and chronic, especially in time frame, once develops suddenly, and it's expected that to be resolved within days or weeks. The others, it will start gradually, and it will persist for years. One of the conditions was actually discussed this morning. That was chronic kidney disease. You see this thing, chronic kidney disease. So it developed insidiously. A chronic illness can also become critical. If somebody has acute appendicitis, as the name implies, it starts suddenly. If it ruptures now, it becomes critical illness. It will just change. The condition will change. The person will look healthy again. So because there's a treatment for it. But for terminal illness, there is actually no, even whatever you do, you are sure that this person will die. So, and a person with such a disease is said to be terminally ill or simply has been terminal. Next slide, please. So the next question will not be, how long will the terminally ill patient live for? I'm sure most of the time we've heard, they said, that people will not say, oh, I was told that somebody, the doctor said that this person will die. I mean, early in the week, one of our doctors saw a patient, a terminal ill patient with bone cancer. I mean, the news was broken to her, and she was saying that how long am I going to live for? And the doctor said, although this thing is we don't really have a cure, whatever we do, but I cannot be sure, because he asked a doctor, if I tell you that you will die so time, what if I should die before that time? They will say, doctor to say maku oshajiniku, and it happens. The guy told me that what if I'm going on the road and I'm knocked down by a vehicle, and you say and that doctor said that I will die in 6 months, and yet see now he has died before me. And this we see a lot of them coming down at the terminal stage. But now, because of established treatment, it has reduced. It is now more or less a chronic condition. So you find a child who was diagnosed and is living to adulthood. Unlike what has happened in the past, when we say because it used to be known that when somebody has had AIDS, HIV, that person will certainly die. But it's not more again now. People live, for years, and they may even die of something else, not HIV, not AIDS. That's the fact. Consequently, the predictability of when a terminally ill person will die can be cancer. Yes, this is the commonest cause of a terminal illness, but it is usually advanced form of cancer. A cancer, diagnosed on time, there may be at least a sort of a treatment, but it may be diagnosed late presentation or maybe unusual presentations of that cancer. For example, now somebody has persistent headache. I'm not sure that the first is brain cancer, or somebody has the cancer of the pancreas. Oh, you just do examine. Oh, this is likely to be ulcer. You give an ulcer drug, and the person will just improve. Oh, it's an ulcer, not knowing that it's actually pancreatic. The location of the organ. So by the time you are making that diagnosis, it's already late. Other people that have cancer of the pancreas, liver cancer, the diagnosis tends to be made very late. It's not that they did not present early, but for whatever reason, because there are no symptoms or signs that are classical of that. You just think that, headache, it's stress, or it's malaria, or it's typhoid. But by the time you are now making diagnosis of brain cancer, it is likely to be terminal. There are a lot of neurological disease, and so next slide, please. So we look at coming to terms with a terminal illness. Before somebody is told that he or she has a terminal illness, the diagnosis must be definitive. It is not a guesswork or an assumption. So you must establish a diagnosis. And most of the time, the diagnosis is what we call a biopsy. Even when an obvious breast ulcer is seen, that you know that clinically this is almost certainly a cancer. But you won't just say, you must still take sample of that breast tissue and confirmed in the laboratory, because there may be other uncommon conditions that may mimic that condition, and those conditions are treatable. So there must be definitive diagnosis, and this information actually applies to the medical personnel. The person that will break that news must be skillful in breaking bad news. It is we see the Oga doctor, the leader of the team, we want to push it to the next person. The next person want to push it to the next person. Every time maybe it will land on the poor nurse on the wall, that to tell the person that something bad has happened. Because it's a delicate situation, and it requires skills to actually be, before one can actually break that. And a lot of emphasis are actually being put on that now. And this is not the time for the health practitioner to say there is no problem, or all is well, or don't worry. You can't say all is well when the person is going to die, when you are going to break bad news. It can never be well. So all those terminology should be avoided. No problem. There's no problem. No, those phrases should be avoided. And this, there are various phases that people go through. People go through a lot of phases. The first phase is actually shock. Can we have this slide, please? Okay. The first phase is shock. Because you will ask yourself, why me? I mean, it's a natural reaction. This is a natural reaction, especially for a person who has adhered to a healthy lifestyle. Imagine somebody who has never smoked, who has never taken alcohol, and that person is coming down with cancer of the lung or cancer of the liver. You can ask yourself, I took care of myself. I never forgot to do my annuals. Why should I have this condition? So it's a natural reaction, Then the next stage is denial. This follows the shock. When a patient is told that he or she has a terminal cancer, they often meet the news with disbelief and even outright denial. Patients may seek out second opinions, or they may busy themselves with distractions and other tasks. This denial is simply a coping mechanism that allows the person to deal with the initial news in smaller bits instead of being overwhelmed with grief. So the denial, it allows the person to pace out that bad news. Because it is not an easy task to just absorb it. Yes, I'm along. It is a difficult thing. So somebody will actually deny, no, it can never be. Oh, maybe let me go to somewhere else to seek another opinion. Actually, it's actually encouraged to actually seek a second opinion, even a third opinion to be sure. But denial can actually be there. So this one also should be seen as a coping mechanism before the person will actually come to terms. The next phase is fear. And the fear is fear of dying alone. Leaving family members without a provider. Imagine the breadwinner, maybe in the 40s, coming down with cancer of the liver. The fear will naturally be there. They are unfulfilled dreams. So the fear will be there. Then followed by sadness. People will know that, am I going to become a burden to the family? Am I going to be being carried about? Because that person have seen people, who has kind of health issues. And then you will not start wondering, the fear of now being a burden to the family. That's another phase. Then another most important phase is bargaining. This manifests as when patient have accept. There is some sort of acceptance that this thing has happened. The next thing, God, if you can just allow this thing to go away, I will do this for you. People do it. It's a natural reaction. Even somebody that has been doing bad things, healthy habits, somebody that has been drinking, smoking, that person will also make a bargain with God. That God, if you just pardon me for this one, I will quit smoking. At that point in time, the person has accepted it, but is now looking for a new way. So bargaining is part of the reaction. But this will just make the person to be able to cope with the news. And the final stage is acceptance. When everything has come, finally, the shock has been overcome, the fear, the sadness, the bargaining. Then you just have to accept it that yes, it has been accepted. And then, but we should note that all these, they may not be expressed. These are not something but they happen. They are just human reaction to bad news. So it is not, one should not be surprised if some people may just break down, they may cry. Yes, it's also part of their coping mechanism. So we need to realize that there are coping mechanisms for all this. Then what are the effects of terminal illness? Next slide, please. There are a lot of symptoms, and I'm sure that we are actually be familiar with this. We've seen people who have actually suffered a lot of serious health challenges. Pain is the commonest one. Advanced cancer is a very, very painful condition. The pain is unimaginable. It's not a pain that paracetamol, diclofenac, or whatever. It's a pain that you now have to use opioid. morphine to just, calm the pain. It's actually a terrible condition, you know. And at that point in time, one is not bothered about side effect of the morphine. You are bothered about at least providing comfort to the person. It's not the side effect that is important now. Therefore, feeling difficulties, you know, may actually be there because the person is not eating. There will be severe weight loss. That's why people with advanced cancer, they tend to have a severe weight loss. Then bladder and bowel control. That person may not be able to control the bladder, maybe bedwetting, stooling, you know. Then pressure sore. And I'm sure we are familiar with this. We have people who are sick, elderly people, and they start developing ulcers all over the places. So, then one of the major problems is psychological problem. Accepting that one is dying, especially if accompanied with pain, can be difficult to cope with, and may be associated with depression and anxiety. There may be intense feeling of regret, especially if wrong choices have been made in the past. You know. So that is very psychological problems. Then burden on the family. Because the problem now is not on the person alone. If you have malaria, also your family may be affected in a way, but it is not like a terminal illness. So burden on the family. The knowledge that a loved one is dying and watching the person dying can exert emotional tolls on the family. You are just looking at your loved one dying, and doctor have told you that there's nothing you can do again. It's difficult for the family member, not just the person affected, you know, and this may result in burnout. We will talk about that later, and even undue anger, you know, because of the burnout. The financial burden, terminal illness exerts tremendous pressure on the finances of the person and family, and even when death is certain, any ray of hope or promise of a cure will most likely be explored, further draining the resources of the family. Everybody wants to hear good news. Even when doctors have said that this one is nothing you can do, and you hear that they said they can do it somewhere there. Chances is that one may want to take, because there are ways by which people will rationalize for you. You know, those things. Because at that moment in time, that person is very, very vulnerable. Very, very vulnerable. Especially if the person is surrounded by people who are going to bring up a lot of ideas. So, and this will further drain the person's finances. Because the question will be, at what point do you say that one is not going to spend money if one is sick? And one knows that death is, this thing is going to lead into death. You know? So it's a difficult choice. People have raised millions to expend on cancer treatment when we know that it's actually fertile. But it's going to be difficult to tell them that, is it possible to just, you have family, can you just leave the fund for your family? But people can do sort of things, especially when there is a ray of hope. So, let's look at the treatment options available. Next slide, please. So, what are the treatment options available for a terminally ill person? Primarily, the treatment, God will say it's terminal. We can't cure anything. It's basically palliative and supportive. Basically palliative and supportive. So, physical symptoms. The person has pain. We want to relieve pain as much as possible with drugs. Surgery also may be indicated in some cases. And then we now know to get it clear. Somebody may have the person has a cancer of the stomach now. No, the food cannot go down, or of the intestines. You know, the abdomen is bloated up. The food cannot go. Can we do surgery to bypass that obstruction? So at least something can go down. The obstruction can be relieved. So it is not a treatment, it's a palliative treatment. Because people tend to have an idea that, they say they are going to do surgery. But the surgery may actually just be palliative. You know? So the surgery at that point in time is palliative. No, not a curative at all. But it's something that has to be done, because that may just be the only avenue to provide nutrition for that patient. So it may actually be done. But the reason for doing it should actually be made clear, so that the exposition will not be at least heightened unnecessarily. Then bladder and bowel management. It is very important to give comfort to the persons and also to give the caregiver. It's not an easy thing to take care of somebody who is terminally ill, bedwetting, stooling on the bed, it's very tasking. So this has to be treated, to prevent it. It has happened. One can use adult diapers, adult pampers available now. At least it should relieve the soilage of the bed. Also there's a catheter can be used so that the urine will be draining and the house will not be smelling unnecessarily. Then bed sore must be prevented at all costs. The fact of the matter is that even if that patient is going to live for 6-8 months, once somebody starts developing pressure sore, bed sore, it kills very, very fast. Very, very fast. Because it's possible that person is not moving about, is bedridden, and is just lying at a particular spot, and all those spots that are touching the bed, the back of the head, the shoulder, the back, the heel, those are the pressure points. Ulcer will start to develop because of the pressure in that place. And I'm sure that we've actually seen this. And once it starts to develop in one place, it will keep appearing in other places. So this has to be prevented. So and those things that can make it to occur rapidly is when we have irritation of the skin. Maybe the person is constantly bedwetting. It's irritating the skin. So that's why preventing soilage of the bed is very, very important. So we can prevent that by frequently turning the person. That person cannot move himself, herself. So we now have to be shifting the position every hour to be shifting the position of the person, so that that particular spot will not be under pressure for a long time. Then also we can put a soft padding at those pressure points. Ordinarily, maybe get a balloon or blow water or air, put it there so that it will sort of dampen the pressure. Then and the water bed is actually available now. Once somebody is bedridden in the hospital, that person will be asked to get a water bed or a water bed. It goes a long way to prevent a pressure sore because it kills very, very fast. Then psychological and emotional support. This is very important in order to guard against depression. Being in the presence of loved ones and in home environment can be helpful. Whatever gives joy to the person should be made available. And it is also very important to avoid giving false hope. Emotional psychological support is very important. And at that point in time, people tend to want to live in a home environment where they are familiar with, and then they want their family to be around them. It gives them sort of psychological support. Then, where is the best place to care for a terminally ill person? This is a very challenging condition we are facing now. Somebody is terminally ill. We say, they can't do anything. Take the person home. All the children, they are abroad. And I'm sure that if you take a survey that, maybe there is a visa, we want to give visa to children, 10 children, I'm sure every one of us want our children to go out. But we now need to look backward and say, what are the drawbacks? And we are actually being faced with that. It should be borne in mind that the conventional hospital may not be able to deliver the person-centered care required, especially at this stage. We said somebody should be turned hour upon hour. You have so many patients on the ward. There is only 1 or 2 nurses. This person want to wee-wee. This person want to poo-poo. There's a limit to what that nurse can do. And that's why, meanwhile, it's good for the family member to be there to give support. You can only come in at a particular time of the day. So the person is in pain, is just there on the bed, in a strange environment. The family member outside, they can't come in, but you will chase at it's not visiting time. So it is at times it is not really a good place to take care of a terminally ill person. And that is why even those conventional hospitals, they are now having a dedicated palliative care unit where such patients are referred to for comprehensive care, which will also include home care as well. Because at that point in time, that person needs person-centered care. Somebody that will be constantly monitoring that person. So it is not a patient that will be thrown among other patients and you have 1 or 2 nurses on the ward. It's going to be a challenge. Whether the person is taken care of in the hospital or two will depend on the stage of the disease and the choice of that person. This is very important. Most of the time, the person may want to be taken home from the hospital, but unfortunately, there is nobody to take care of that person. All the children, they are either abroad or they are working class, Who will take care of the man at home? There's nobody. And the communal life that we are used to, they've been disrupted. In the olden days, I'm sure it's because of the Agbole system. Even if you are not there, somebody, is actually taking care. So you are read as sure. But that's why, even when they say, take this mama who does not can do that, just wait there. And it will further worsen the psychological condition because that person has, a choice. Oh, can I go home? But who will take care of the person at home? So it's actually a serious condition. So that is why, next slide please, we now have to consider some decisions that have to be taken. These decisions, although they should be taken and to be considered by somebody who has a stamina in a bed, it's something that can actually be useful to all of us because we can find ourselves or some people that we know in some conditions. Very, very important to consider this decision. And number one of that is advanced care directives. These are directives given in order to ensure that a person's health care wishes and end-of-life concerns are known and respected to align with one's belief or value. This should be documented, if possible, and made known to the medical personnel and caregivers so that the person's wishes are respected to the end. They usually address how aggressively doctors should pursue life-sustaining measures and whether quality of life or comfort should be paramount. Yoruba will say maybe what's the essence of being alive and one is in agony. So as one needs to take some decisions that we address that because the time will come, that person may not be able to make some decisions. And that's why at times somebody will decide, they say, bring the person home. And you have no choice because if the person dies, maybe the wife refuses to take the person. Our African culture now. It's a problem. So you have to take the person home, and you don't know what will happen. But if the person have given advance directive, especially in the hospital, and number one is living will. This set forth medical wishes that will guide healthcare if a person becomes mentally or physically unable to make decisions. Not that you will have told the doctors, doctor, please, if I should lapse into coma or anything happens, all these oxygen monitors, all these gadgets that will just prolong life. I don't want it. Just let the nature take its course. You will have given that directive, and our doctor will have documented it, and it has to be obeyed because that's part of the autonomy. That's ethics. That please, once I get to this stage, I don't want aggressive treatment. Just let nature take its course. Then the other thing is healthcare power of attorney or healthcare proxy. This documents a designate or a person to act on the behalf of the person when necessary. In other words, it's possible that some decision may need to be taken, and that person cannot take that decision. Who will stand in for that person? One must have designated a particular person that, see, once it gets to this stage, this is the person that you should consult because this person knows my values, knows my belief. So this person will now be able to decide what you should do. These decisions need to be taken. Living will, then who will take decision when you are not in a position? Somebody must be able to take that decision, and it will be respected. These wishes should be communicated repeatedly with everyone involved in the care of the person. When the last speaker was talking about the Nizam and Jamaat, was talking of the ceremony. This is one of those things that can be applicable. That look, if death comes, don't do this, don't do don't do whatever, because one needs to take cognizance of the family that where one comes from, because people will do things that you may not be able to control. I remember when my dad died in 1994 when I was a medical student in Ife, Although before he died, he would have been telling me, because I was the last child, that, you are the last child, will you join your siblings to do whatever? I said, no, sir, I will not. When it happened, he actually left directive. Emma Danoni me, recorded on tape record. But after the burial, my siblings said that, what Baba said was that Emma Danoni me. That's what he said. Baba, Emma Danone, that's what he said. I mean, but they said that what Baba said. You see how people can actually. So perhaps one may not have to be clear what you want. So it is not about Danone me. People will not say, oh, we can engage caterer since we did not get Dano. So so that will need to be cleared. Then next slide, please. So the other decision that need to be taken is do not resuscitate order. I've mentioned that in person. When somebody at the terminal stage, somebody may just develop cardiac arrest, and that's actually the final pathway to death. Doctors will always try to revive the person. They will do cardiac massage. They will do all those things. But you could have given direction that, look, once that stage comes, don't do it. Just let nature take its course. Because there is no point in just being alive when at least and being in pain and agony. And those measures cannot really offer much. So one can actually do not resuscitate others. That once it happens, don't press the chest. Don't say you want to do CPR, cardiac massage. Just allow this to, and this will be written down. Then also the need for mechanical ventilation will also need to be considered. Because the person cannot breathe. The brain may be clinically dead. Oh, you are now using machine to be keeping the heart alive, ventilator. To be breathing. So what is the essence? Is a time. So you could have given that order, please. Once the time comes, just allow nature to take its course. Then the next issue that we need to address is very, very important. Please, I want to plead with us. And that's the issue of our next of kin. It is absolutely necessary to address that one. This one is not just for people who are terminally ill. There are people, once they put down somebody as their next of kin, when they wanted to take job, they may never review it again. Some people will put their mommy or their sister, their brother, they will never reveal it. And this one is only women that do that. Women, they don't joke with their next of kin. In my workplace, almost always, all the women there, once their children get to age 18 or so, they will write to the management, I want to change my next of kin. They will write to the man. They don't joke with that. There was a time I was asking one of our workers that, you, this woman, we will put your wife as next of kin. You put your name, you put our name, but later you come and change it, without even telling the husband. Ọ̀gá ẹ má bínú sọ ìdáhùn mi ṣe mọ̀ pé ẹ̀yin ọkùnrin ẹ̀ gbádùn. And truly, for those who don't answer that, no, we're trying to ask the person, why do you always change your next of kin to your children? And the woman said that, no, you men, you are good for nothing. Let me just translate that. We know what that one connotes. Women don't joke with that. Irrespective of whether it's a monogam or whatever. Once their children get to 18, they change the next of kin. It's only men. I've seen somebody, a staff, who put his brother as next of kin. It was when I was saying, Mr. Uza, your next of kin is your brother. Why not? He said, change it. That the person have died. He never changed. So we women, we just overlook a lot of things. And the truth is that if somebody dies in health facilities, the medical record or death certificate will only be issued to the next of kin. No other person. It is not the person that is paying the bill that will collect it, or the dowry, or the first time. No, if you come, it's the next of kin. Very important. So that is why it is important. Even when we have to go to the hospital, don't put somebody who is in America as your next of kin because it's the one sending the money. Put somebody who is on ground. Because if something happens, that person, the process that he will go through to process that death certificate, because it's not on ground, it will take a lot. Put somebody who is on ground. So not somebody who is taking the bill, who is paying the bill. It's very, very important. So to address that, I think it will be useful to all. Then lastly is what we call doctor-assisted suicide. I just put it for just an academic purpose. We know that at least euthanasia is against the medical ethics in Nigeria. It's illegal and it's a crime. But in some jurisdictions, it is allowed. Somebody may say, oh, instead of just enduring pain, let's just give me injection to die. Please let us distinguish that one between do not resuscitate order. That person is not saying that, oh, give me injection or to die. That person is saying that, look, just allow, when it gets to that stage, just allow nature to take its course. Don't do anything. Unlike somebody for doctor-assisted device, that person will have to be actively put to death by other means. So there are different things. So for the fact that somebody that's giving do not resuscitate to other, it does not mean that that person has, denied treatment. It's just that because in realization that just and there is no point in just being a body, that just allow nature to take its course. So I'm just putting that as a form of, because we know that it's applicable in other jurisdictions all over the world, but not in Nigeria. Then next slide. What are the end of signs, end of life signs? So final days, hours. When the time is coming that we know that this one, the time is coming. We may have breathing difficulties. Patient the breathing will just be, and it will be fast, it will slow down. Once we start seeing that, we know that death is approaching in a matter of days or hours. Then the person may start feeling cold. You touch the body, the extremity will be very, very cold. And I'm sure that some of our babas, they have actually seen that. When they see, they know that something, they see the skin wrinkling, muscle together. They know that it's just a matter of hours, Then less desire for food or drinks. We must get it clear that when somebody is afflicted with terminal illness, the death is approaching. That person does not have desire to eat again. He's preoccupied with so many things. Unfortunately, it's the food and drink that the carer will be occupied with. Papa, now, you must eat. You are so concerned, you are worried. Even they will be angry. You did not eat, you must eat. The fact is that the metabolism, the body function has slowed down. That person requires very minimal energy. So we should not force that person to eat. It's very, very important. Ordinary just small juice, whatever we just do, but not that we will be so much worried about and a concern about that person. Because it's not easy, because the body is shutting down gradually. So the requirement for food, nutrition have reduced a lot. So that person may actually not be able to take much. So then sleeping patterns, that person will just sleep excessively. Then confusion, it may happen at the stamina stage. And that's the person, at that stage, that is the time that probably you just want to, because that person may hear whatever is going on and may not be able to communicate, to phonate, to talk, to vocalize. But you can just be playing, probably crying recitation in the background, to keep the person at least in tune with the environment, because that does not mean that person does not know what is going on in the environment. So we can do that. But that this may not be possible in the hospital. So that's why you have to decide where is the best place to take care of a terminally ill person. So I'm almost rounding up. So next slide, please. We now consider what is good death. Yes, we can say that death is death. Yeah, death is death. It must happen. But next slide, please. But there's what we call good death. And according to the Institute of Medicine, a good death is a death that is free from avoidable distress, suffering for the person, for the patient, for the family, and the caregiver. In general, accord with the patient and family wishes, and reasonably consistent with clinical, cultural, and ethical standards. In other words, a good death is a death that is free from unnecessary suffering, but it must accord with the choice of that person and the family, and also in tune with the values of that person and the family. If the person now say, I don't want, because at times if somebody will say, take me home. At that point in time, we should respect that request, because that will provide some comfort for that person. But that person knows that the time is coming. So it's better to just take the person home. And what are the characteristics of a good death? Some of them are dying without experiencing suffering. And that's why Yoruba will say, it's better to die than experience unnecessary distress or suffering. Dying without suffering, being relieved of psychological suffering, being cared for and surrounded by family members. This is very, very important. In those good old days, we know that our parents then, when the death is coming, they will summon all the children. Wherever they are, even the children, it gives them some pleasure. It gives us some pleasure, because they actually want, they wish the children to be with them, but it is not just possible today. Maybe they can do video call, if it's possible. I don't know. But it is actually not possible. Most patients, they desire that. They want to be surrounded by family. They want their children. They want to pray for them. And those are the good things that we used to cherish and people used to be, to make proud of in the good old days. Then yes, Baba Misha do that for me. You know, my mother or my father prayed for me before he died. But we are missing that now. Then having a meaningful life without regrets, you know. Then making good arrangement for the family issues. It is absolutely important. We must know the type of family that we come from or the type of family that we have. So we must make arrangement for issues that may create problems. So if people have done this, it gives them some joy that, oh, if even death comes, they say, oh, what good I have done. Even when death comes, it gives them some pressure. It's one of the characteristics of a good death. The having quality life before death, expectation that the person's will or wishes will be respected, then limited financial care burden, then being relieved of suffering, then avoid use of a fertile treatment, having the chance to say goodbye, you know, that, oh, I can actually see my kid, whatever. It gives people joy. Then dying in a decent environment, not in an environment that person will just be kept somewhere. You know, and it actually can make the end very, very painful. Then maintaining the integrity of the body. This is very important. At times, somebody with, for example, some advanced cancer, maybe cancer of the leg or whatever, although it's stamina of the bone, is stamina, but, you know, because we just felt that even if we cut off that cancerous limb, it will relieve the symptoms. It will make caring for that person, to be easier. But people will say, no part of my body will leave me in this world. They will refuse. We have to respect that. And it's very, very common in our elderly people. You say you want to amputate the leg of the woman because of the elderly, because he has cancer of the body. Say, no part of my body will leave me in this world. We must all go together, complete. You know, but those are difficult choices. You know. Then improve family cohesion. When a dying person sees that the family is well united, it gives them pleasure that even when they comes, you know, it actually qualifies as a good death. Next slide, we're rounding up. We go to caregiver burnout. You know, this is very, very important because caregiver burnout, because we know that caring for a terminally ill person is very, very demanding. It is not a matter of money. Some people giving the money, although money is very necessary, but people giving the money may not realize the stress that people are taking the care what they are going through. So it is not just a question of money, and they may be burnt out. You know, so it is very difficult because we refer caregiver burnout to a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion, accompanied by a change in attitude from positive and caring to negative and unconcerned. It tends to come up episodically and followed by a feeling of regret. Some of us have experienced it. You know, at times you'll be so angry. You are petting the person. Try and eat something. The person refuses. I believe you. Don't disturb me. I'll be petting you. It is not that one is wicked. It is just that it's just one is frustrated. One is just burnt out. You know. So it's a normal. So when you see people shouting on their loved ones, it's not that it's not really like that. It's actually a real situation that people can actually be burnt out, especially if they do more, physically and financially. And that's why actually you find somebody is the one taking care of the person, paying the bill, and other people are over there. You know, that feeling may be there. After all, I'm not the only child now. Oh, other people should come and take over. And maybe other people are not ready. So burnout can actually come on. And it is becoming a problem now with the children of traditional African communal life and empty nest syndrome as a result of Japa by our children. Yes, all of us want our children to be abroad. That is true. So at the late stage, we are now faced with empty nest. So who will take care of us? So what are the causes of this caregiver burnout? Number one is role confusion. Role confusion. Now, next slide. Causes of the caregiver burnout. Role confusion. Sudden transition of role from a spouse, children, or a friend to that of a caregiver. You know, it's not an easy. Somebody. One is living happily with the husband, with the wife, and suddenly there is a diagnosis of terminal illness. That role of wife will now have to change to a caregiver. You now have to. So it can be difficult to navigate, to transit from a wife, a spouse to a caregiver, or to a child to a caregiver. It can be very difficult. So role confusion, the unrealistic expectation. The caregiver may expect that their involvement should have a positive effect on the person. Some people may believe that, if I should get there, they say mama is not eating. Once I get there, because mama lost me, mama will eat. And no matter what you do, mama refuses to eat. It gets frustrating. So it is. But one should not have unreasonable expectation. The financial constraint. A caregiver who is also expected to provide the resources required may easily be burnt out. If the same person will play all the roles, provide the money, and do everything, it's going to be done. The unreasonable demand. The family members may ascribe the role of a caregiver to a particular person. E.g., the duty may be seen as the sole responsibility of the youngest wife. It's a very common in our environment. They will say, usually the youngest wife, once that condition comes, it's the youngest wife that will be delegated with that responsibility. After all, you are the youngest wife now. Take care of it. It places unnecessary, a demand on that person. We cannot do that. It has to be a shared responsibility. So those are some of the causes that may lead to caregiver burnout. So how do we prevent it? Next slide, please. Yes, home-based care. Yes, facilities can be engaged to provide this. We can have the person at home, and you now arrange with an hospital. Can you be sending your nursing personnel to be coming to take over, to be coming to nurse this person? That one can be done. The engagement of nursing aides or person on shift basis, you can actually employ caregiver, because if you employ a carer, one caregiver, maybe one elderly man or woman, that you should be taking care of a man at home. It's only when you are there that they will be taking care of the person, because it is demanding, washing, clearing urine, clearing poo, all those of things. So it's better to actually employ 2 or 3. So they do it in shifts. This person comes, he or she goes to rest. It has some relief, rather than to start the job with someone after you are paying the person. Although you are paying, but it's only when you are there that they will do the job. The nursing home, the person can be taken there for proper care till death comes, while the family member visit the person periodically. Well, this may be seen as not in tune with our culture, but if a newborn baby, 6 months, 8 months, can be taken to a daycare, then we have to prepare our mind that the time it comes, because of emptiness syndrome, that we will have to end our life in a nursing home for proper care. That's a fact that is staring us in the face. Then support group. People who have experienced that, those conditions, who are taking care of terminal ill persons, they can come together and offer support group that, okay, this is what we went through. This is how we are able to do it. They can help people, to do that. So these are ways by which caregiver burnout can be prevented. But the truth of the matter is that it's a big challenge. So, in rounding up, terminal illness is a life-changing condition for both the person experiencing it and the family members. Nobody knows who may be affected or called upon to serve as a caregiver. Some of the information provided are expected to empower us should the need arises. And my prayer is that for those affected, may Allah ease their burden and let them end it as Muslims. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.